On the day Clive got engaged to my sister, I found myself sitting right up front in the audience. When he caught sight of me, he let out an unexpected sigh of relief. Carrie, have you finally caused enough trouble? Surrender to me? Everyone around was spooked, clueless about who he was addressing. Because you see, I had passed away ages ago. Today marks exactly 7 days since I died. The day before I died, Clive ended things with me. He was planning to propose to my sister instead. Gathering all my guts, I confronted him asking, Clive, can't you just marry someone else? Clive's dark eyebrows knitted together, and he seemed really annoyed, gripping my waist tight. Carrie, if you need money, just say it. Your act is sickening. Don't forget your purpose. So, you're just after the cash. Enjoy stealing from others? How vile. I looked down, feeling sad. I hadn't forgotten why I was here. I existed because my sister Sylvia had a heart condition and couldn't do anything too strenuous. But our parents couldn't pass up the chance to tie themselves to Clive. So they made me, the debt collector, step in for my sister in dealing with Clive. Yeah, serving isn't the right word, but when there's such a huge gap in wealth and power, even our own parents don't see me as a person. All that talk about human and women's rights just goes out the window. Your sister will be free soon and can get engaged and married. You fake it, get lost, and don't even think about taking over your sister's rich husband. What's your sister's fate is your fate too. Are you even worthy? My birth mother's curses echoed in my ears. My heart hurt, but I forced a smile, holding Clive's neck tightly. Well, I do need some money. How about another 500,000? The dim light hid the tears well. No one believed that I, this replacement, actually loved Clive. Seeing him get engaged, I wanted to turn my life around too. Think of this money as my support over the years, my dowry from you. Clive had a terrible temper. When I told him I wanted to marry him, his expression turned icy. He abruptly stood up, leaving me feeling hollow. Then he gave me 2 choices: take back what I said or get lost. He used to give me options before, usually apologizing or leaving. I usually took the first one, because when he said leave, he meant standing outside the door, there for the night. But this time, I chose the second option without hesitation. Acting cool, I jumped off the bed to pack my stuff. And before leaving, I kissed Clive's lips reluctantly and flashed him a bright smile. Clive, thanks for taking care of me these past 3 years. Goodbye. I left behind the things Clive gave me since I didn't have much of my own. After all, without a home, I couldn't afford a lot. By the time I was done packing, dawn was almost here. I grabbed my suitcase and quietly left the room. Clive was already in his loungewear, waiting for me in the living room. He threw the breakup check of 500,000 at me, his face showing a level of malice I'd never seen before. His eyes shook, his thin lips parted, and he actually spoke again. Carrie, if you surrender to me now, you can still change your mind. You wanted money, right? Here you go. It felt like Mars crashing into Earth, shocking me so much I almost dropped my suitcase. Clive, the rich young master, always had others bending over backward to please him, begging for his mercy. When was the last time he offered a way out, letting someone leave? But even though it was an honor, I never meant to take that exit, Clive. Brother-in-law, I wish you and my sister a happy marriage. With heartfelt wishes, I turned with a smile. Then, tears rolled down my face. Gripping the handle tightly, my fingers turned white, and I cried while smiling. Well, I lost my love, but I gained 500,000. It's enough for Grandma's surgery, and she can live a healthy life for a long time. I am dead. The mung po soup is kinda bland. No green onions, not tasty, Granny. I looked up and weakly tugged at the corners of my mouth towards mung po. Granny, have you seen my grandma? She should be right in front of me, half an hour ahead. You can. Learn from her. Tears mixed with blood streamed down my cheeks as I smiled sadly, my heart breaking. The soup she made was the most delicious in the world. She was the only one who truly cared for me. It's my fault I couldn't save her. But why, Granny? Why? I was so close, just one step away. Mung Po stared at me silently with dark eyes, then gently touched my head. Cold to the touch, yet I felt a warm sensation. Child, you did your best. A white light flashed before my eyes, and when I opened them again, I was back in the mortal realm. I became a bound spirit, stuck within 5 meters of Clive. The first day after death was boring as hell. I floated in the air, watching Clive in his office. He still looked sharp, his suit jacket over the back of his chair, white shirt with rolled-up sleeves showing off his muscular arms. I was the one who picked out the cufflinks, but what's the point? Even if I served him well, I was just a stand-in for my sister. Just look at how our lives turned out differently. To Clive, my sister was his one and only childhood sweetheart, the delicate princess he had always protected. How could he have her doing these mundane chores like a housekeeper or a mom? He had no problem bossing me around, a debt collector unloved by his own parents. But it seemed like Clive was expecting some news today. But he never got it. He kept picking up his phone, unlocking it, checking, then angrily tossing it aside. Especially towards the end of the day, his face turned so dark it was almost ink-like. So weird. Honestly, without me reminding him daily to eat on time, watch the weather, and share small talk, he wouldn't have much going on. Turns out, I used to be such a chatterbox. No wonder he found me annoying. The second day after death, Clive looked even grimmer. When he got home, he tossed away all the little things that used to belong to me, over the top. He gave my sister diamond jewelry, while everything he gave me was just freebies. I didn't mind. I cherished them all, but he had the nerve to throw them away. Housekeeper Wang nervously asked him, "Young master, why not bring Miss Lin back?" Standing beside them, I couldn't help but shake my head. I'm already dead. Where would they find her? And it wouldn't be considered finding, but rather retrieving. Clive, with a cold face, turned and went upstairs. No need. But strangely, that night he slept in my room, clutching my pillow. On the third day after death, Saturday, Clive took the day off, didn't go to work, and burned all my photos at home. Even though the Singh and Lin families were close friends, I hadn't lived with my parents since I was 10. Naturally, I couldn't compare to my sister, who had so much interaction with Clive. After 3 years of being a substitute, I didn't even have a proper photo with him. These photos were all taken by me, risking everything. But he just set them all on fire. Why not just retrieve me and burn me too? The riverbed is so cold. The fourth day after death, Sunday, Clive grabbed an axe and chopped down the trees I had carefully grown for 3 years. He personally uprooted each one I had watered and fertilized, treating them like precious roses. He's really something. He knows all this was my hard work because my sister liked flowers, especially the most vibrant ones, freshly picked. So my mom forced me to change my college major to horticulture. Following Clive, he even paid a high price to get a piece of land in the garden for me to grow flowers for my sister. Every day, I'd pick the freshest ones and bring them to my sister's sick room. Now that my sister is recovering, he's willing to tear them all up. Forget it. I won't dwell on it. I'm already dead, and no one's around to care for them. They'll wither away eventually. Just like if Grandma hadn't taken me in, picked up scraps, and raised me, I, the second miss of the wealthy family, would have starved on the streets long ago with nobody to claim my body. And now, without Grandma, I have indeed died. They are no exception. On the 5th day after death, Clive still crashed in my room, almost like he moved in. My parents and sister came by, cheerfully discussing the engagement with Clive, though most of the talking was done by themselves. Clive listened intently, his gaze calm. After a while, he suddenly asked, "Why isn't Carrie here?" My parents and sister were momentarily stunned. Then my mother forced a laugh and casually said, "That girl has always been wild. We can't control her. Who knows where she's off fooling around, never at home." I listened on the side, pursing my lips. It's not that they can't control her, it's that they just don't care. When my mother gave birth to me and my sister, she had a tough delivery and almost died on the operating table. As a result, my sister was born with a heart condition, while I was perfectly healthy. They say twins often become enemies, one repaying a debt, the other collecting it. In this case, I'm clearly the one who's here to collect. My grandparents were already unhappy with my mom, and as an excuse, they criticized her for being useless and only bringing financial losses. My mom blamed all of it on me. She thought I took away my sister's nutrition in the womb, causing her to suffer from birth, leading to our grandparents mistreating us. So everything I have should be given up for my sister. While my sister was suffering in the hospital, I wasn't even worthy of coming home. They have no idea where I live, let alone where I am now. Clive simply responded with a no and didn't say anything else. A hint of envy flickered in my sister's eyes. Then she leaned closer to Clive, resting on his shoulder. Clive, Carrie must be mad at me. It's all my fault for being weak and causing trouble for Carrie. If it weren't for me, she could have been happier. If Carrie likes you so much, I'll give you up for her. My sister's words didn't sit well, and my mother got even angrier. She quickly grabbed her other hand and gently patted it. Sylvia, don't think nonsense. You're the luckiest one. That wide-eyed wolf, Carrie, who wasn't even close to you in the womb. Why would she have a say in your marriage? As she spoke, the pain in my mom's eyes was almost unbearable as she hugged my sister tightly. If she doesn't come, then she doesn't come. It's better without her causing trouble. My sister nestled in my mom's embrace, softly crying. But we're still sisters from the same womb. When we get married, I still hope to get her blessings too. As she spoke, her gaze hinted at something, sneakily glancing at Clive. But Clive kept his eyes down, staring at his phone, lost in thought. I walked up to them and whispered mischievously in Sylvia's ear, Sylvia, you're lying. You clearly watched me die. Yet you pretend not to know. You're really wicked. After that, I reached out to my mom and murmured sadly, Mother's embrace. Is it warm? What does it feel like to be held by my mother? It should be the same as when Grandma used to hold me? It should be. The 6th day after death came, and people kept coming to Clive to confirm the details of tomorrow's engagement ceremony. But Clive seemed distracted. Finally, he told his assistant Zoe, find Carrie. At the same time, he sent me a WeChat message. Carrie, come back. How much money do you want? I'll give it to you. I couldn't help but laugh. Why does he think I'm so obsessed with money? I'm already dead. Money means nothing to me now. But I don't want Clive to find me. I don't want him to see my body. It's so tragic and ugly. Naturally, Clive didn't wait for my reply. He got angry and threw his phone aside, his face turning pale as he said, If you have the guts, just don't come back. It was the first time I saw him act so childish. I felt a mix of amusement and frustration. Clive, this time, I gotta say, you're something else. On the 7th day after death, at the engagement venue, there were tons of guests since it involved 2 prominent families. Many were chatting, saying it was a perfect match, childhood sweethearts stepping into marriage. I sat in the front row, wanting to see with my own eyes the man I loved most, marrying my beautiful sister Sylvia. But my mom sat next to me, her face serious as she texted my dad, Where did you go? If Carrie doesn't want to come, fine, come back quickly. What's more important than Sylvia's wedding? On my dad's end, it showed typing for a while before he finally sent a message. Carrie is dead. She jumped into the lake and committed suicide 7 days ago. My mom's expression froze for a moment, looking dazed. Another message came from my dad. The body was recovered last night. It's all over the news. Almost the whole city knows. It's a day of joy for Sylvia's engagement. No one knows about my memorial ceremony on the 7th day. Isn't it ironic? The whole city knows I'm dead, but my biological parents are busy prepping for my sister's wedding, completely clueless. No wonder the wedding guests had such strange looks. My dad sent another message right after. Today happens to be the 7th day. It's so ominous. Oh, so he's blaming me for dying at the wrong time, causing trouble for Sylvia's engagement? Dad, it's not my fault. It's my sister who insisted on choosing that day and pushed me to my death. She brought it on herself. The music started playing, and Clive walked hand in hand with my sister, slowly making their way to the stage for the vows. He looked really handsome today, even in his usual suit. He was exceptionally sharp. My sister looked beautiful too, with makeup on and her previous sickly look gone. She was stunning. We truly are sisters. Our taste in wedding dresses is pretty similar. It's the diamond-studded, one-shoulder gown that I love the most, highlighting her slender neck and graceful shoulders. It's wonderful. If us sisters can only have one person's happiness, then from now on, my sister will carry mine too, doubling the joy. Thinking like this, I didn't seem to hate her as much anymore. After all, I'm already dead. However, it was odd that with my gorgeous sister standing in front of him, Clive kept scanning the audience, like he was searching for someone. Finally, to my surprise, he locked eyes with me. As if relieved, he looked down at me from above and said, "Carrie, have you had enough fun? Surrender to me." My sister's face suddenly changed, almost blurting out, "Clive, what are you saying?" "Carrie, clearly." I raised an eyebrow, thinking, oh, did she almost slip up? But my sister, true to her nature, quickly retracted her words, forcing a smile. "Carrie," she clearly said. She couldn't say it. My mom sitting next to me wasn't as composed, looking at my position with a terrified expression on her pale face. "Ah, Clive, what nonsense are you talking about? Who is this? There's no one here." My mom panicked. Clive froze, pointing directly at me, his gaze sweeping across all the guests. "She's right here. Can't you see her?" Both my sister and mom's faces changed. The guests were in an uproar. Some of the more timid ones were already running out. After all, it's the 7th day, and superstition is hard to ignore. My sister approached, grabbing Clive's arm with one hand and covering her heart with the other, biting her lip. The vulnerability and charm in her eyes made me want to embrace her. "Clive, stop messing around. Carrie said she couldn't come. It's chaotic now. I'm scared. My heart feels uneasy. We're still in the middle of the ceremony. Let's not ruin it over this." But Clive ignored them, shaking off her hand, his face darkening. He took big strides and stood in front of me, furrowing his brow. "Carrie, what are you playing at again?" I was somewhat shocked. It was the first time I saw my sister use her heart condition as an excuse, and it couldn't stop Clive. Before, whenever she said her heart was hurting, even at 3 a.m, Clive would leave me and rush to the hospital to be with her. There was even a time when I had acute appendicitis at 3 a.m., and Clive was driving me to the hospital, but because of something my sister said, he made me get out of the car and take a taxi on my own, not caring about my life or death. Thinking about it, I tilted my head and looked at Clive, giving him a faint smile. As a ghost bound to this place, what can I really do? Clive saw me silent, his patience nearly gone. "I don't know what you're so anxious about, Carrie. Speak." Now even more guests fled in panic. Even my mom took steps towards the exit. My sister, however, didn't move, her face pale, her fist clenched tightly, staring fixedly in my direction, but through her focused gaze, I could tell she couldn't see me. Among the crowd running out, Zoe, the only one going against the flow, stood out. He made his way through the crowd, approached Clive with a serious expression, paused for a moment, and took a breath. "Clive, Carrie has been found. She jumped into the lake 7 days ago. Her body is now at the hospital." Clive was stunned, his pitch-black eyes staring at me in disbelief. I tilted my head, gave him a sorrowful smile, and said, "I didn't deceive you. I really died." Clive being able to see me not only blew my mind, but clearly surpassed his own expectations. Even with news of my death and my body lying before him, he couldn't believe it. Trembling, he reached out his hand, wanting to touch my face. I didn't move, letting him reach out, and then his fingers passed right through me, grasping at nothing. The impact of this piercing through my body was more powerful than any corpse. In that brief moment, the emotions in Clive's eyes began to crumble. They shattered into an incredulous tremor. He kept reaching out, wanting to touch me, hold me, make contact. But it was all for nothing. To my sister, my mom, and all the onlookers, he seemed completely insane. Clive shook his head, persistently reaching out his hand. "Impossible, impossible." "Clive, I am dead." I stood there quietly, emotions steady, just feeling confused. Wasn't it said that he didn't love me? That he only saw me as a replacement for my sister's bed? Didn't he bully me all these years for my sister's sake? Now, with this act, I almost believed he truly loved me. Besides my grandmother, who else could possibly love Carrie? The day we broke up, I died. I died at the bottom of the river, not far from the hospital. The water at night was so cold, really cold. As I said this, I paused, tilted my head, and revealed a pleading smile. My grandmother's body is still at the hospital. I don't know how they handled it. At least, after taking care of you for 3 years, could you bury us together? I'm afraid my grandmother won't be able to find me in the afterlife. Clive's hand hanging by his side began to tremble violently. He stared at me, his eyes turning red, and then let out a loud roar, fiercely kicking the seat beside me. The row of chairs didn't move, but it made a deafening sound that made everyone shudder. Stop fucking pretending. Stop fucking pretending, Carrie. Get the hell out. Stop playing. There has to be a limit to this madness, Carrie. Come out. He still had such a terrible temper. Always yelling at me for no reason. Can he only see me but not hear me speak? Does he think I'm some kind of hologram? Should I turn into a mushroom for him to see? Clive, please calm down. Zoe, the assistant, always taking charge, stepped forward and grabbed his arm before his rage escalated further. Clive, listen to me. Carrie's body is indeed in the hospital morgue, confirmed dead for 7 days. Upon hearing this, my mom and sister hurried forward, mouths opening as if to say something, but Zoe stopped them with her gaze. Then Zoe looked earnestly at Clive. Or let's go and claim the body first, then decide what to do next. As she spoke, her words were rapid, afraid that if she spoke too slowly, Clive would explode. After finishing her sentence, she immediately let go of Clive and took a few steps back. I watched all of this, feeling both amazed and impressed. Truly, Zoe, the special assistant, had a way with persuasion. Maybe because I'm a ghost, my reactions and senses had dulled, but now facing Clive, I was calm. He's right, brother-in-law. Today is my 7th day after death. If you can see me, it's probably some kind of metaphysical occurrence. Maybe tomorrow you won't be able to see me anymore. Why not do me a favor and collect my body? After all, you've been pretty cruel to me these past 3 years. Of course you can refuse. I can't do anything to you. Clive stared deeply at me, his chest heaving, veins bulging on his neck. Just when I thought he was going to hit someone, he said only one word. Let's go. Sut. To see your own body is such a strange feeling. So strange it makes me want to facepalm. It's ugly. The body soaked in the river for 7 days is truly ugly. Pale and swollen, even the shoes my grandma bought me are torn. My mom, as if she finally remembered that I was her biological daughter, stared blankly at my body as soon as she entered. When she got the WeChat message about my death before, she was just shocked. But now seeing it with her own eyes, there's a hint of unfamiliar sadness in her gaze. How did this happen? Suicide. In the morgue, there were 2 police officers, a man and a woman. The female officer was the one talking, her face cold as she handed over a document, looking somewhat displeased. Her eyes swept over my sister in a wedding dress, my mom in festive clothes, and my dad in a suit. With a mocking tone and a fake smile, she sarcastically remarked, "Your younger sister goes missing for 7 days, and you didn't delay the wedding, huh? I must say, you could have waited until after the wedding, after coming home, having kids, and until the kids could pay respects at the grave before mourning. The effect would be the same." My mom choked for a moment, her expression instantly awkward, on the verge of tears, somewhat comical. My sister pulled my mom back, giving an apologetic smile to the female officer, speaking gently. "Sorry, my mom is just overwhelmed with grief and hasn't fully processed it." The female officer's mocking gaze sized up my sister's wedding dress, and she responded with a simple, "Oh." Silently, I gave a thumbs up to the female officer. Clive, who walked in last, glanced at my body for a moment, and then his face turned cold. He turned around to stare at my soul, his voice indifferent and stubborn. "She's not Carrie. Carrie is right in front of me." But I didn't respond, tilting my head and shifting my gaze downward, looking at his hands. If Clive hadn't trembled so much when he said those words, I might have believed him wrong. He clearly recognized me, but he doesn't want to believe it. After speaking, Clive took a step forward, as if wanting to grab my arm, but halfway through, he recoiled in fear. Stiffly and firmly, he said, "Carrie, come home with me." The 2 police officers and my dad all looked at him like he was crazy. My sister had already recovered from her initial shock and gently explained to the 2 officers she was experiencing hallucinations due to the immense shock. The male officer glanced at the groom's suit on Clive, understandingly saying, "Your brother-in-law and your sister-in-law seem to have a good relationship." But the female officer just coldly clicked her tongue. I raised an eyebrow at this beautiful-faced female officer. Oh, she's a sister with a story. She really gets the dynamics between sisters-in-law and brothers-in-law. If it weren't for my death, I would have chatted with her about how I became a substitute in bed, with no human rights at all. Clive ignored the other sounds, stubbornly repeating, "Carrie, come home with me." I smiled. "I have no home." Carrie never had a home. A home should be a place where you never have to worry about being kicked out. How can a place where you're casually thrown out be called a home? Clive, have you forgotten? Every time you came back from the hospital after visiting my sister, seeing her suffer, you'd get angry and kick me out of the house, making me sleep on the bench in the yard. For 3 years, whenever my sister was upset, I was kicked out of the house. No matter the time, the weather, whether I was dressed warmly or lightly, I had to be at her beck and call, no matter the task. If my sister wanted to eat crab in the middle of the night, I had to prepare it immediately, personally crack it open, and deliver it to her. If I was even a minute late, I had to wait outside the hospital room for an hour, watching as she threw away the small amount of crab meat I'd painstakingly peeled because my sister couldn't tolerate any cold foods. How? Can that be called a home? Clive must have remembered. So he froze, his expression becoming complex and serious. But in the end, still with a cold voice, he stubbornly said, "She's not Carrie. We can't claim the body." The policewoman took a deep breath, but couldn't hide her frustration. Lowering her voice, she angrily slammed the documents on the desk. Papers scattered, many falling to the floor. "People are dead. Can't we let her rest in peace? Carrie suffered so much in her life. Can't she find peace in death? How much do you hate her?" Hate. That word isn't really accurate. Clive doesn't hate me. He just dislikes me, looks down on me. Actually, Clive and I used to play together before we turned 10. He was really nice to me back then. He was a gentle and caring older brother, always playing with me after he finished with my sister. But that year was the peak of my sister's illness. She'd cry as soon as she saw me, crying that I took away her health, that I caused her such unbearable suffering, that I didn't deserve to be so happy, carefree, and able to play with her brother Clive. Crying until my mom's heart broke, her gaze filled with disgust. That night, she smashed my dinner plate, saying I had no heart, no empathy. How could I eat when my sister was in such a condition? Just when my mom was about to hit me in anger, my dad casually said, "Well, we have plenty of properties at home. If Sylvia doesn't want to see her, doesn't want her to have any contact with Clive, then let her move out. When Sylvia no longer suffers, when she's ready to accept her again, we can bring her back." That's how, at 10, I moved out of the family. Never saw Clive again. 3 years ago, we met again. I became a substitute for my sister's bed, and he became my benefactor. I still remember that dull, rainy day. I stood in Clive's living room, filled with excitement, but froze upon hearing his first words to me. "Carrie, after all these years, you still love taking things that don't belong to you." In that instant, I felt like I saw my parents. I realized clearly that in Clive's eyes, I would forever be a sinner who must spend her whole life repaying the debt to my sister, Virginia. My dad suddenly frowned, bending down to pick up a piece of paper. It was my bank statement. Most of the transactions were money transfers to the same person. My dad pondered for a while, as if remembering something. "That's the former maid who was caught stealing from our house? Why does Carrie send her money?" The policewoman let out a quick, light, cold laugh. Then she composed herself, staring at my dad with utmost seriousness, and said, "Because she's the only person who has been kind to Carrie all these years. Since she managed to survive by scavenging, taking on odd gigs, and supporting Carrie for 8 long years, she ensured neither of them went hungry or froze to death." After dropping this bomb, the entire room sank into a chilling silence. My sister, as if hearing this revelation for the first time, covered her mouth in shock and whispered, "How could this happen?" Yes, seriously, how could this go down? The second young lady from a wealthy family almost died of starvation on the streets. The policewoman gave another shrug, her tone odd. My sister couldn't take it anymore and broke down crying. I looked up and caught Clive's gloomy, silent expression. Then, I turned to my parents, gently placing my hand over my heart as tears streamed down my face. "Dad, Mom, is this the life Carrie's been living all these years? Why didn't you tell me?" I almost started laughing. They never gave a damn about me, so how could they possibly know? The housekeeper didn't follow their orders and just gave me a monthly allowance. Kids who aren't loved by their parents won't find love elsewhere either. The cash from the housekeeper just covered my school fees, leaving me with only 60 won each month. Just enough for 2 buns a day, paired with discounted Vujin pickled veggies. If I had any extra costs, like buying a pencil or an eraser, I'd have to go hungry for a few days. The day I was about to pass out from hunger on the street, I luckily bumped into the nanny who'd taken care of me since I was a kid. She was sweet, but because she was too straight up, she got sidelined and falsely accused, leading to her being fired. She found me, took me in, and raised me. She provided the warmth of a home and a loving hug where I could cry and be spoiled. But in the end, I couldn't protect her. 3 years ago, Virginia was diagnosed with stomach cancer and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. It was Carrie who covered her sky-high medical bills. And coincidentally, on the morning Carrie paid for the surgery, Mrs. Virginia's rescue didn't make it. And she died on the operating table. Half an hour after her death, Carrie also took the plunge into the lake to end her life. After saying this, the policewoman glanced up at my sister, my father, and my mother. Do you even know a bit about this? Facing her question, my mother shook her head repeatedly, her tone stubborn and unapologetic. Then she went on. If she had no money, why didn't she say anything? We've had family reunions over the years, sis. As she spoke, she couldn't continue, a hint of regret flashing across her face. It was clear she remembered all the times I told them the housekeeper's money wasn't enough and asked them to look into it. But how did they respond? Your sister's suffering in the hospital and you still have the nerve to spend money. You're just lying to get cash. How dare you do this? How can you live such a cushy life? The last time they noticed I was broke, they voluntarily gave me money. It was because I agreed to be my sister's stand-in, so I wouldn't look too shabby and upset Clive. The room fell into a deadly silence. Clive gave my sister a cold look, and his chilling voice made me shiver. So, this is what you meant. Carrie agreed to be by my side to compete with you. You're jelly that I have this rich fiancé, and you're craving my wealth and power. Clive, I didn't know, I really thought. Sylvia's face went pale. She covered her chest, and in a weak voice, gasped for breath several times. She looked at my mother, begging for help. Mom, my heart hurts so much. My mother had a pale face, clearly still in shock from my death. But Sylvia's cry of pain snapped her back to reality. She held on to Sylvia desperately, like a mother hen protecting her chick. It was me. I was scared Carrie would get greedy and told Sylvia on purpose, she said. I lowered my gaze, not surprised at all. Sylvia's mother was truly a good mom. But Carrie's mom? Nah. Greed. The policewoman suddenly spoke slowly, repeating those 2 words. Then she smirked with contempt, tears welling up in her eyes. She sold her blood to pay for Virginia's treatment and almost got tricked by an illegal clinic into selling her kidney. Ma'am, I don't get it. Both our daughters. What did Carrie do wrong? Didn't you give her life and bring her into this world? When Carrie was struggling, did you ever stand in her way even once, like you're doing now? Tears streamed as the policewoman turned her head towards my lifeless body. Her voice shook violently. Besides her grandma, she never felt a bit of warmth. She died in such a cold way. The water at night was so freezing. When I pulled her out, that chill got into my bones, making me shiver. What did she do wrong? Yeah, what did I do wrong? My sister's illness wasn't on me. My grandparents' disdain for my mom wasn't because of my birth. If I could choose, I'd rather have a heart condition. Where did I mess up? What did I get out of all this? Why, no matter how hard I tried, did they never love me? My mother was bombarded with questions, her face turning pale. Used to blaming me for everything, she couldn't pin it on anyone this time. Her well-maintained face lost its color. She took a few deep breaths, but still staggered back a few steps. She took Sylvia's health. She took a few deep breaths, but still stumbled back a few steps. She took Sylvia's health. She took mine. She tripped and fell to the ground, her gaze aligning perfectly with my pale body. She took a sharp breath, shaking her head in fear. Mom, I'm in so much pain I can't breathe. Sylvia suddenly grabbed her chest, bent over, seemingly in great agony, and started gasping for air. Clive, for the first time ever, didn't move. But my father, who'd been silent the whole time, quickly rushed over and lifted her up, heading towards the door. Hurry, keep up. Don't let Sylvia stay with the dead any longer. Forget about what happened with Carrie before. She's our only daughter. We can't lose her too. My mom, hearing his shout, snapped back to reality. After glancing at me, she gritted her teeth and immediately followed. The policewoman clenched her fists in anger. This family deserves to die. If I were Carrie, even as a ghost, I'd drag them to hell. Sister ghosts don't have that much power. I floated over and gently touched her shoulder to calm her down. Thanks, stranger. Carrie says thanks. Clive suddenly spoke, his eyes red, staring at the policewoman. She froze, then turned away and started crying again. You don't deserve to represent her. None of you are good people. My body was still in the hospital morgue. No one claimed it. Ignoring the policewoman's rage, Clive coldly left the hospital with Zoe. Back in the car, his face turned pale, veins popping on the back of his hand gripping the steering wheel. Floating in the back seat, I kept talking. Clive, after the 7-day mourning period, I might really disappear. Please help me find a place to rest with Grandma. Shut up, Clive suddenly yelled, making Zoe and me tremble. Zoe cautiously asked, Clive? Clive coldly interrupted, Get out. Zoe got it right away, opened the car door, and was about to exit. But before she did, Clive added, Find out where Virginia was buried, yay? The car door shut. Clive started the engine, not even glancing back at me. The scenery outside the window slowly faded, the silence becoming suffocating. I thought for a moment, silently moved forward, and floated to the passenger seat. Clive, Shut up. Clive stared straight ahead, his profile showing cold hardness. I will definitely keep you. Helplessly, I said, But I'm dead? Didn't you see my body? Clive suddenly raised his voice, his expression turning icy. You're right in front of me. Why should I accept that you're dead? That's not you. I can't possibly collect your body. I trembled in fear. You're so fierce. Why is your temper always so bad? You're yelling at me even though I'm dead? Clive clenched his teeth, his cheek twitching slightly. Then he said 2 words. I'll change. I was stunned. Clive continued. I'll change anything you don't like as long as you stay. His tone suddenly softened with a gentle plea. Carrie, tell me, how can I bring you back? I furrowed my brow slightly, not understanding. Why save me? I committed suicide after all. Suicide means not having any ties to this world. Grandma is gone. What's the point of me being alive? I didn't say anything again, and I neither did Clive. He just drove home. Then, he frantically used all his connections, searching for a way to revive or keep my soul. I used to not believe in such stuff, but given my current situation, I couldn't help but believe. Floating in midair, I waited to see if there was any unconventional method out there that could truly keep my soul. And Clive, true to his nature, using money and power, found a seemingly promising solution late in the evening. They say in web dramas that rhinoceros horn can communicate with ghosts. Rhinoceros horn can talk to ghosts. A few thousand gold for rhinoceros horn. For Clive, it was no big deal. He's really loaded. News of Clive's pricey purchase of rhinoceros horn spread quickly. He put down his phone and looked up at me. Though he didn't seem overly excited, his eyes were bright. Someone will soon deliver the rhinoceros horn. Carrie, I will keep you. I will definitely keep you. I floated down from the air, staring at the madness in his eyes. Clive, have you forgotten you're my brother-in-law? You used to dote on and love my sister, always bullying me for her sake. When she cried, I had to cry twice as much. When she was in pain, I felt double the pain. So why are you going through all this trouble to keep me? Do you think I owe you my life? Do you want me to come back and keep repenting? She was the apple of your eye, and I'm just a weed, right? Clive paused for a moment, his lips twitching, and he lowered his gaze, avoiding eye contact with me. After a while, he spoke softly. But I don't want to lose you. It wasn't the answer I expected, but fortunately, it wasn't. These days, as I floated around him, watching his actions, It seemed like he had fallen for me. Clive, do you know why I like you? I suddenly changed the topic. Clive trembled all over, his expression frozen. The first candy I ever had was given by you, and I still remember the taste. I never knew something in this world could be so sweet. I'm really starved for love, and I really want someone to love me. As long as I get a bit of warmth, I'll do anything to get closer. So, when I agreed to be with you for my parents, it wasn't just for the money. It was also for my own romantic fantasies. These 3 years dealing with him, while it saved Grandma, also let me indulge in my own love fantasies, accepting that I fell for Clive. But no matter how much I love, there are boundaries. I never thought about ending up with Clive in the end. I just wanted the deal to be over, save Grandma, and then distance myself. When Clive was in love with my sister, he could handle using me as a substitute. He not only disrespected me, but also the word love. What I couldn't accept even more was that my whole family silently accepted this arrangement. They didn't even see anything wrong with it. So when we broke up that day, I said, "Don't marry Sylvia," instead of "Don't marry her, marry me." Because that was my final advice to him, nothing more. My sister, she may have a weak heart, but she's cunning. Not the ideal candidate for a good wife. But Clive responded with cheap or not to me. He treated me with 3 years of disrespect and bullying. So Clive, please don't say you love me. It's too disgusting. Clive's expression suddenly stiffened. His thin lips trembled, about to speak, but then his phone rang. The ringtone was urgent, like a crack in the thick sadness filling the room, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Clive wiped his face, picked up the phone, and answered it. "It's Zoe. Clive, someone delivered a 2-pound rhinoceros horn. I've already paid the money, and we found Virginia's burial site. Do you think we should—" And we found Virginia's burial site. Clive's fingers tightened, his knuckles turning white from the strain. After a few intense breaths, he coldly refused. No need. I raised an eyebrow, but wasn't surprised. Zoe didn't seem surprised either. He paused for a moment, then added, "While searching for Mrs. Virginia's body, I saw someone familiar on the hospital's surveillance. The last person Carrie and Mrs. Virginia saw before their deaths was her." Clive's brow furrowed deeply. "Who?" "Your fiancée, Sylvia." I don't know if the rhinoceros horn really worked, but after the 7th day, I didn't disappear. Clive didn't sleep that night. He stayed up with me until dawn. The moment the sun rose, his tense chest suddenly relaxed, and he looked up at me with a victorious smile. "Carrie, I've kept you here." I sat by the window, silently watching the rising white smoke from the burning rhinoceros horn without turning back. But inside, I wondered, did he really keep me? Can I actually be kept? Even if he wants to keep me, is there anyone who can let him? Sure enough, in the afternoon, my parents came with my sister. My sister's complexion had improved, but she looked sad and fearful. My mother seemed like she hadn't slept well, looking worn out. She, who always had to put on makeup even to walk the dog, looked disheveled for the first time. And my father. A man who couldn't even handle his own relationship with his in-laws, letting my mother be oppressed by them for so many years without helping. What can I expect from him? My grandparents favored boys over girls, and my father was no different. To him, both his daughters were just average, but everyone said I was a debt collector, so they started disliking me even more. The day Sylvia fell ill was the first time I saw my father so anxious because of my death. Because if I died, he'd only have one daughter left. He wouldn't have the confidence to let things slide anymore. If something happened to Sylvia again, he'd have no children. For someone nearing 50, the chances of having another kid were slim. "Clive, Carrie's body has been lying there for a while. Shouldn't we claim it for cremation? The whole city is buzzing, waiting to see how we handle it. If we drag it out, it won't be good for either family," my father said, furrowing his brows and looking at Clive, who was clearly more indifferent towards him, with displeasure. After all, he was supposed to be his future father-in-law. It was one thing to not show respect normally, but why now? "Carrie will live, no cremation allowed," Clive said coldly, looking up at the 3 people in front of him. The depth in his eyes stunned all 3 of them. Sylvia relaxed her expression, forcing a gentle smile as she walked up and tugged at Clive's sleeve. "Clive, I was really sick yesterday. You didn't come to see me. Was it because of Carrie's situation that you were mad?" I'm also deeply saddened by what happened to Carrie. I have no idea how my parents could. She knows. I spoke slowly. The day I died, she was on the riverbank, watching as I tied stones to my feet and jumped. No, more accurately, she forced me to jump. I stared firmly at Sylvia, unaware that my mother suddenly looked in my direction, her eyes gradually filled with fear. You didn't know? Clive also smiled, as if seeing Sylvia clearly for the first time, gazing at her face, which resembled mine about 70 or 80%. And then he laughed with self-deprecation. Sylvia, you've been in hospital since you were young, so my parents and I always subconsciously saw you as a simple, pure girl. But now it seems, when it comes to lying, you don't even blink. No wonder all these years, you played us like puppets, using your convenient heart condition. Sylvia's face changed, her smile forced, and a hint of guilt flashed in her eyes. But when she looked up again, she put on that pitiful, sickly beauty appearance. Clive, what are you talking about? How could I know something you all don't? Is that so? Clive sneered and violently threw a stack of documents on the coffee table. They were several color-printed surveillance images, clearly showing her sitting by my grandmother's bedside, crying. They also recorded my grandmother being taken out for rescue and her mocking expression. The stark contrast between her current delicate and gentle image of a sickly beauty and her past behavior stunned both my parents, especially my mother, looking at Sylvia in disbelief. Sylvia, do you know Virginia? Why did you go to find her? Sylvia opened her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I know. I know she raised Carrie. I went to find her because I was afraid Carrie would cling to Clive and keep trying to snatch my marriage. I wanted her to persuade Carrie not to seduce her own sister's husband and be the third wheel. I never expected her to suddenly fall ill, and I never expected that my grandmother would die on the operating table, rescue efforts in vain. My fists clenched tightly, filled with hatred. I could barely contain the urge to tear Sylvia apart. My grandmother truly loved me. How could she handle such a blow? What she least wanted was to burden me. I remember clearly that day the weather was gloomy, and the hospital corridor was filled with the smell of disinfectant. With every breath, the moisture in my heart was taken away, turning into knives, slashing through every capillary. Doctors and nurses brutally told me, "Grandma is gone, forever." I wanted to find Sylvia to exact revenge, like a madwoman. But my sister looked at me arrogantly, disdainfully. She said to me, "Carrie, what right do you have to make me pay with my life? You still owe me this life. As long as my heart condition exists, Mom will always pity me, resent you. So what if Clive is addicted to you? With me around, you'll always be the third wheel." Actually, on that day 10 years ago, I deliberately cried like that because I saw you playing with Clive in the garden. He gave you candy and smiled at you. Clive in the garden, he gave you candy and smiled at you. He never smiled at me. He always just said, "I hope you get better soon." Why? Why can you carry but not me? So she used her advantage and with a few casual words, made our parents drive me out of the house. Made me disappear from Clive's world. Carrie, as long as I'm here, there won't be anyone in this world who will truly love you. Yeah, Grandma's gone. How can anyone truly love me anymore? Carrie, you're really pitiful to be so desperate for an old woman who has no blood relation to you. Instead of thinking about dying together with me, you'd better hurry up and die so she doesn't have to walk the road to the underworld alone. In the surveillance video, Sylvia's every word and sentence were clearly replayed. My mother covered her mouth, tears streaming down, unable to believe these words came out of her beloved daughter's mouth. You drove Carrie to death? Sylvia, she's your sister. No matter how much you hate her, letting her go is one thing. But how could you? What kind of words are these? My mother thinks that no matter how much trouble there is, as long as she keeps me alive, it doesn't erase the bond of family. Does that make her a good mom? She'd rather acknowledge that Virginia has a relative than consider you her mother anymore. Mom, please wake up. Seeing this, Sylvia stopped pretending, her eyes filled with clear hatred towards me, looking at my mother. Her face, twisted by anger and resentment, was truly ugly. Mom, you're just like me, both pitiful souls burdened by Carrie. It's good she's dead. The world would be peaceful without her. Carrie even thanked me for waking her up to die. Sylvia's words were spot on. They truly woke me up from the depths of despair. I no longer cared about giving my grandmother a proper burial. And when someone's dead, does it really matter where the body is? I just wanted to hurry and be with my grandma. She loved me the most. I couldn't let her walk the road to the afterlife alone. So I rushed out of the hospital and without hesitation, jumped into the river, and Sylvia, always following behind me, watched as I sank without any trace of emotion. Sylvia's words left my mother speechless. The blood drained from her face, as if she finally realized how excessive she had been towards me before. Sylvia, you've won. Maybe that's just how twins are. One is a debtor, the other is repaying the debt. Now it seems that since you had a heart condition, I was destined to be the debtor. I wonder, did I really win when we were in the womb? If I'd known my mom would be like this, I'd have gladly given you my life so you could live for both of us. Facing Sylvia, I sighed softly after saying these words, suddenly feeling a bit tired. I didn't want to listen to this farce anymore. I just wanted to go upstairs and hide for a bit. No, Carrie, don't go. A heart-wrenching scream echoed from behind me. I was startled and turned around to see my mother, who seemed to have lost it, staring at me intensely. Her eye sockets were red, filled with exhausted blood vessels. My heart skipped a beat. No way, In my confusion, my mother rushed towards me, tears flowing uncontrollably, but after years of neglect, she couldn't really say anything remorseful. Carrie, is it really you? Carrie? Please, please don't go. Your sister didn't intentionally drive you to this. Forgive her. Forgive. At this moment, she was still speaking up for Sylvia. I lowered my head numbly, staring at the leather shoes my grandmother bought for me on my feet, and smiled helplessly. Actually, I've always hoped that one day you could hug me. But you see, we really don't have a mother-daughter bond, do we? Now, I can't even be hugged. Carrie's mom is not a good mom, so she doesn't want a mom anymore. Hope that in the next life, we won't meet again. My mother trembled, reaching out her hand to embrace me, but how could she actually hold me? Clive suddenly stood up, grabbing my mother's arm tightly. You can see her too, right? My mother had a panicked expression, nodding desperately. Yes, I can see her. Clive, do you have a solution? Can you save her? Sylvia was absolutely terrified by the two of them. She looked pale in my direction, her voice rising in disbelief. What are you doing? Carrie is already dead. She's dead. You both hated her, didn't you? She's dead. So why are you making these gestures for whom to see? Clive had no initial reaction to her words, but upon hearing the last sentence, he suddenly looked up, his eyes sharp as he stared at her. This was the first time Clive had been so harsh towards my sister. My sister was startled. If you hadn't constantly made me think that Carrie was getting close to me, just habitually competing with you for this thought, how could I have treated her like that? No matter how much bullying and injustice she endured, she accepted all my demands. But I only felt she wanted to take things from you, to have money. I'm angry. I've always been mad that she never cared about me. Clive's voice wasn't loud, but every word carried an indescribable sense of despair and pain. I couldn't help but be stunned. My sister was also stunned, but then she burst into wild laughter. Clive, do you think you're some kind of love expert? Do you think that as long as you blame me, you're not at fault? In the end, what's the difference between you and my mom? You're both unwilling to accept your own misery and you transfer your anger to Carrie. You despicable people. Isn't it hard to find out what Carrie went through before? Why she was so short on cash and why she agreed to be by your side as my substitute? But did any of you bother to investigate? She explained so many times, tried so many times to find a chance to talk to you. Did you believe her? You didn't, because all of you are the same. Only willing to believe the Carrie in your hearts, a debt collector who knew how to steal from the womb, morally corrupt and beyond redemption. Sylvia had always been gentle and fragile. Never did I imagine that one day she'd be gripping her neck veins and shouting like this. My mom trembled all over, looking up at her. Sylvia, how can you say such things? Carrie is your sister. Sister? You never treated her like a daughter, so why should I treat her like a sister? Sylvia abandoned her disguise, sneering at my mom. Mom, have you forgotten how you used to call her a debt collector? how she didn't deserve anything. Now, because she's dead, you suddenly awaken your motherly love. My mom's chest heaved. You. For a long time, she couldn't say a word. Because she was right. All the people in this room were the driving forces that led me to attempt suicide, but none of them were direct culprits. They only used their cold violence, relying on my expectations of them, to disdain and hurt me recklessly. Sylvia was right. Ultimately, it was them. They never truly respected me. They thought I was a sinner who owed Sylvia, so they treated me poorly with righteousness and digested the dark sides they didn't want to face. Rhino. With a tilt of her head, Sylvia saw the large black rhino on the shrine next to her, as if she suddenly understood something. Indeed, living in the hospital all year round, Sylvia had read more than everyone present. Of course, she could guess what the rhino was for. She also understood why my mom and Clive could see me. She suddenly stood up and rushed over, hugging the rhino tightly in her arms, and turned back to laugh maniacally at my dad. "Dad, we've ordered the rhino. Neither of us can see Carrie now. Seems like you, just like me, didn't care about her." My dad's face turned red with anger and embarrassment as his true thoughts were exposed. He angrily muttered, "What nonsense are you talking about? Where am I talking nonsense?" "Dad, you never loved us, did you?" Sylvia sneered and shifted her gaze to my mom's face. Mom, the key to the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship was never about Carrie. Your parents never liked you, and it's because Dad never took any action. You refused to admit you chose a useless man, so you blame Carrie. How are you better than me? My mom tightly covered her mouth, not even giving her a glance. She just cried and looked at me. "Carrie, I'm sorry, Mom was wrong. Can't you stay? Mom will treat you well from now on." "Sylvia, let go." Clive's usual calm expression shattered instantly. He panicked like a poor boy who'd broken a precious antique, helpless yet anxious. Sylvia looked at him, coldly smiling. "So, you've fallen in love with her, right? Clive, weren't you the one who loved me the most? We've been childhood sweethearts for so many years. You've spoiled and loved me all these years. And yet Carrie managed to steal you away, didn't she? I won't let you have a chance to see her, absolutely not." Sylvia picked up the lighter next to her, lit it, and moved closer to the rhino. Clive immediately panicked. "No. Sylvia, don't." Sylvia had a twisted smile on her face, her eyes welling up with tears. She lit the rhino with the lighter, laughing and crying at the same time. "Just one step away, and I'd have married you. Found happiness." Why? Clive rushed over, pushing Sylvia away and snatching the burning rhino from her. Sylvia fell heavily to the ground, clutching her chest, curling up. "It hurts? It hurts so much. Clive, save me! Save me!" She seemed really ill, her lips turning blue, large beads of sweat forming on her forehead. But Clive didn't even turn his head. He frantically tried to put out the fire on the rhino. Luckily, the rhino didn't burn easily. Only a small part was charred before the fire died out. My dad had already rushed over, picking up my sister again and heading towards the door. Clive coldly stared at his retreating figure, his voice low and chilling. "Don't let her die. After she recovers, take her to where Carrie used to live. Let her experience the suffering Carrie went through, or else your family will go bankrupt. You should know I'm not joking." My dad's footsteps abruptly paused. After a few seconds of silence, he muttered, Amidst the excruciating pain, Sylvia and his arms burst into maniacal laughter. "Lunatic. Everyone is. Lunatic." Father and daughter left, leaving only my mom sobbing and apologies in the spacious living room. I didn't even look at her anymore. I silently stared at the black object in Clive's hand. I really doubted. Could they really see me because of that rhino? And as if to confirm my suspicions, my mom suddenly let out a scream. "Clive, look!" Sure enough, I guessed right. Things like the soul rhino were just illusions. My soul began to dissipate. The first thing to turn transparent was my feet. Clive turned around and, seeing this scene, his eyes widened in disbelief as he took a few steps back. How? How could I disappear? I felt quite relieved, actually. It's not so bad, is it? No, it's not. It's not good. Clive shook his head frantically, his face twisted with pain. He cried silently, which shocked me immensely. He was actually crying? The person who stayed cold and composed upon seeing my lifeless body was now crying? Carrie, don't abandon me. Don't be so cruel to me. Don't let me watch you disappear helplessly. I'll go crazy with that kind of despair. I looked at his increasingly intense madness in his eyes and shook my head, no longer saying anything. The speed at which my soul dissipated wasn't fast. 2 days passed, and I had only disappeared up to my calves. Clive opened his eyes, and seeing that my calves were gone, a desperate smile appeared on his face, as if he wanted to cry but couldn't. He quickly picked up his phone, but there was no response from me anymore. After struggling to catch his breath, he suddenly looked up at me. Carrie, what should I do? His voice trembled heavily. I watched him silently. I watched as he got out of bed and frantically rummaged through drawers and cabinets, searching for anything even remotely related to me. But in the end, all he found was a torn corner of a photo. It was very small, just half of my eye, but Clive treated it like a treasure, holding it in his hands and pressing it against his chest. Tears poured down like rain. Carrie, I'm so sorry. I was so angry before and threw away everything you left behind. I even burned your photos. What am I supposed to do? If you disappear, how can I? How can I see you again? I tilted my head. Then forget about me. Just like you've always done. After all, you'll eventually forget about me. I heard Clive scream in helplessness as he held his head in his hands. My mom also started coming here frequently. She brought bag after bag of women's clothing, and every day she cooked like a mad woman, serving dish after dish on the dining table. With a cautious expression, she introduced them to me. Carrie, I don't know what you like to eat, so smell each dish and tell me which one you like. When you come back to life, Mom will cook it for you, okay? And Mom bought so many beautiful clothes for you, all matching mother-daughter outfits. When you wake up, we can wear them together and go shopping, okay? No, I don't want to. I want to be with my grandma. Sylvia's really lucky. She didn't die. She was saved. My father really doesn't care about family ties at all. To stabilize the company, he directly sent her to where I used to live. He only gives her $60 a month for living expenses. But the one taking care of her isn't a kind-hearted person like Grandma. She's a lazy, gluttonous woman with a temper worse than a spoiled princess. Whenever Sylvia is dissatisfied, she scolds her harshly, specifically targeting Sylvia with words she doesn't want to hear. Calling her an unwanted bastard, calling her a heart-piercing lotus root, saying she deserves her current state, someone who used to be pampered by parents and loved ones, now completely ignored. How can Sylvia bear it? Taking the opportunity, she came to Clive's doorstep, begging my mother with tearful pleas, asking her to come out and see her. Mom, aren't you the one who loves me the most? My heart feels so uncomfortable. Please come and see her. Mom, aren't you the one who loves me the most? My heart feels so uncomfortable. Please come and see me. Mom, Clive, can you look at me? Don't you care about me the most? Look at me. But my mother turned a deaf ear, only looking at me with a pleasing expression, searching for nearby parks. She asked cautiously, Carrie, you must be bored at home. Do you want to go out with Mom for a walk? I lowered my head and looked at my disappeared arms, truly speechless. Is she not afraid to go to the park with just a head? Carrie, Mom, I've reached an agreement with your father for a divorce. My mother suddenly put down the magazine in her hand, her eyes red as she looked at me. Sylvia was right. I misjudged people and married a man who only cares about profit and lacks affection. It's Mom's fault. Mom is useless. But Carrie, please, have pity on me. Let me make it up to you, okay? I paused for a moment, thought for a while, and finally spoke, saying the first sentence I'd said in so many days. Well, that's fine. Just live well. My mother trembled all over, then began to cry uncontrollably. Carrie, my Carrie, how can I save you? How can I save you? The door upstairs suddenly opened, and after enduring for so long, Clive, with a stubbly face, rushed down. He grabbed the fruit knife on the table and was about to cut his own wrist. I was startled. What are you doing? Clive's face had become thin, like a drug addict's, but his eyes were very bright. Someone just said that feeding the soul with blood can share life. I can save you. My mother, hearing this, hurriedly extended her wrist. I can do it too. But I calmly refused. No, I don't want to. I only have a head left. It's so scary. I even wanted to disappear quickly. This world is not good for me at all. I don't want to live. Just let me have some peace and quiet. Don't bother me anymore. You guys can live well without me. I'll go to the underworld first. You live well, live longer, and bother me less. Clive's face was filled with panic, and he pleaded desperately. There were so many tears on his face that I felt like I'd seen all the tears he'd shed in his lifetime. Carrie, don't disappear. I'm begging you, don't disappear. You've suffered so much, and we haven't treated you well. Please don't disappear. Please tell me, how can I save you? How can I save you? Extreme despair drove Clive into a state of mad sorrow. He seemed helpless, and he picked up a handful of candy from the fruit bowl on the table, holding it in front of me with both hands. Carrie, I'll buy you candy to eat. Can you stay? I'll make your future life very sweet. Very sweet. Please don't disappear. His hands were trembling so much. Half of the colorful candy fell from his hands. My soul has already disappeared to my nose. Clive was desperate, slowly kneeling in front of me. Who should I beg to? Who can bring you back to me? My mother was crying so much she lost her voice, clutching her heart and falling to the side, crying out my name. Carrie, my Carrie, Carrie, I love. Even my ears were gone. Their desperate cries gradually faded away. My consciousness completely returned to nothingness. Before dissipating, I thought, how wonderful it is I didn't hear that disgusting word. I thought, how wonderful it is I didn't hear that disgusting word. I returned to the underworld once again. Mung Po was still sitting in front of her stall, boiling Mung Po soup. When she saw me return, she didn't say a word and served me a bowl of soup. Try it this time. Is it delicious? I took it, took a deep breath, and took a sip. Just as I was about to swallow it forcefully with my eyes closed, the familiar taste spread on my tongue. I opened my eyes wide. Grandma's soup! I laughed and cried, Grandma, you learn pretty quickly. Should I go and be reincarnated now? Grandma must have gone far away. I have to run to catch up. A gust of wind suddenly blew, blowing off Mung Po's hood. A familiar and loving face appeared. Grandma. Grandma lovingly touched my head, her voice echoing throughout the underworld. The soup Carrie loves to drink, Grandma will keep making it, always. After I left, it seems like my mother had some mental issues and couldn't successfully divorce my father. Instead, she was taken back by my father and started living with Sylvia. At first, Sylvia seemed quite happy about it, but my mother seemed dazed, unable to recognize people. She would spend her days holding on to the only ugly doll left in the house, calling out, Carrie, Carrie. She would cook for it, buy clothes, bathe it, and put makeup on it. She poured almost all her maternal love into this doll. My sister, who was by her side, became what I used to be, experiencing my mother's neglect, insults, and disgust. Sometimes, even in the middle of the night, my mother would sneak into her room with a basin of cold water and pour it over her head to wake her up. Then she would laugh and curse. It's all because of you, you debt collector. You made my Carrie ignore me. Debt collector. Debt collector. There were many similar incidents and behaviors. Under this torment, Sylvia's heart condition started showing signs of relapse. She would feel sick every day, and there was no one to take her to the hospital. She endured my mother's cold violence, hanging on by a thread, shedding tears of remorse every day. Clive drank alcohol for several days and ended up with a stomach ulcer. If it weren't for Zoe discovering it in time, he would have almost died in my old room. In the hospital room, Clive had a blank expression, staring at Zoe, gripping tightly onto my tattered photo, his voice cracking with pain. I miss Carrie. I want to die, but Carrie said that if I stay alive, I will live. Zoe sighed and took out a photo from her pocket, handing it to Clive. Clive, this is a photo of Carrie that I accidentally took with my phone, although it's only half of her face. But Clive took the photo, tears streaming down like a dam breaking. Through teary eyes, he looked up at Zoe and softly said, Thank you, thank you. After that day, Clive suddenly seemed to come alive again, no longer drowning himself in alcohol. He lived a normal life, worked diligently every day, but whenever he had a moment of leisure, he would gaze at that half photo, lost in thought. Eventually, he agreed to cremate our remains and bury us together. The location was chosen carefully, facing the sea, serene and secluded. All around were roses, planted by his own hands, blooming beautifully. On the gravestone, our names were engraved. The grave of Virginia and her precious Carrie. Yes, that's right. Virginia and her precious Carrie will live a good life from now on.